Hi guys, so welcome back guys, welcome back to ProForex 101. Welcome back to my channel guys. So today's session guys, I'm gonna do a educational session on supply and demand. Okay? So if you're a professional trader guys that already knows about this topic guys, this is not the recording for you. Okay, so this is for beginners who are wondering, about what supply and demand and things are. Okay. Um, So yeah, guys. So when we talk about supply and demand in economics, we know the basics, right? When there's a huge supply of a certain item, the price falls. Okay, just like as in what happened recently due to this COVID lockdowns, COVID-19 lockdowns. We had the oil prices falling, right? That's because there was a lot of um, oil in the market that was being produced by the OPEC countries, right? And nobody to buy them. So there was a surplus of oil and no demand for it. So the price fell. Um, this was back in April. The price fell sharply for all crude oil stocks. Um, we can have a look at US oil. So yeah, so any drop in price is due to a lack of demand and a surplus in supply. Okay, so and then I think I spoke about supply and demand on some other videos also, guys. So just not sure when, but yeah. So but that's the gist of things. But we want to know how to identify those areas on a chart. Okay. So and then a rise in price is due to a higher demand, okay, and a lowering of the supply. Okay, a low supply and a higher demand, the price goes up. Okay, so that's basically everybody wants to buy something. It's going to be expensive, right? So think of it like that. So alright, guys. So let's have a look at how these supply and demand zones look on the charts. Okay. Let me draw you actually before that what we're looking for. Okay, let me get rid of that, guys. All right. So a supply, okay, is an is basically when the market reaches an area and gets pushed south. Okay, we call this area a supply. Okay, or in another scenario, market is coming down, it holds for a little bit and continues to go south. This area also is a supply. Okay, so think of a supply zone as a zone where market sells from. So S stands for sell and S for supply. That's the easiest way to remember. Okay. So a turnaround in the market or a hold and a continuation. Okay, so these are both supplies zones. And remember, guys, when you're drawing these supply areas, like it's a zone, it's not an exact area, exact place. Okay, so it's a zone that when you're drawing this. Okay, all right. And then um, the opposite scenario, which is a demand, is a scenario where the market is coming down and then turns around from goes up. Okay, so that'll be that we call it a demand zone because the price is increasing. Okay, so in this area there's a lot of demand, therefore the price is increasing. Similarly, in another scenario where we are coming up and then holds it marks sidelines for a little bit and then continues long, this also is a supply zone. Okay, so let's have a look at this on our charts. So any zone, as I said, where the market turns around from is a supply zone. Now this is a 1 hour chart on Euro New Zealand. Okay, so this area here is a supply zone. This area here is a supply zone. That's because the market fell down from there, right? Went down, which means the price is being reduced. Okay, so lower prices, which means there's a supply in these areas. And guys, when you're drawing the supply area, there's many ways of drawing it. Okay, so I'll show you some. For instance, when you some people, when they draw the supplies, they take in the tails on top, okay, and then the bodies at the bottom. Okay, for instance, so we're taking in all the tails here on top, and then also the body, and then at the bottom we're not covering these tails, but only the market closes. Okay, let me draw another one. For instance, this supply here, we would draw it like that. It really depends, as I said guys earlier, like this is zone, so you don't have to be perfect. You can even draw it like this, that's fine, where you're taking these tails. Because remember guys, when you're trading, you are not location trading. Okay, so every time when you're trading, the market hits a certain price, do not pull the trigger button. Okay, so you have to wait for a reaction of an area, not just by the touch of a price. Okay, so that way, that's why these are zones, and they're not exact prices. Okay, that's why when they're saying supply or demand, zones, so that's the keyword guys. Okay, very important. So it's a zone, you can draw it any way you like. This is one way of drawing it, where when it's a supply, you take the tails on top and then you close it off at the bodies down here. Okay, and then for instance here, this supply, we can do it like that. Okay, tails on top, and then you close it off at where the body closed. Okay, so all these zones the market shoots from. Okay, see this here, and then in the future they will play a part when the market comes back to these areas. Market turned around here because of this supply here. Okay, so yeah, so this is a turnaround scenario guys. Let me show you a continuation of a zone, which is a supply. Okay, so when we're coming down, let me just go to a high time frame. So in terms of market coming down and then struggling and continuing south, this here is a supply zone. Okay, so this is where the market is coming down, holds for a little bit and continues south. Okay, so market comes down, holds for a little bit, continues south. This becomes a supply zone. And then you have these tiny supply zones also in here, like this one here, that's a supply zone. This one here, it's so when you're drawing it, you got to draw all the way to the tail top. Okay, so this is a way I'm used to drawing, but you can also like for instance, you can also take this bottom tails and say that this area is the whole supply zone. Okay, just the way you used to. Okay, all right. So yeah, and then demand is the opposite scenario guys. Okay, so this is a continuation supply, and this here is a turnaround supply. Okay, this here. So in terms of demand, let's have a look at some examples. So market turned around from here, so that's a demand area. Okay, should know. And then you draw in your demand, now you take the tails at the bottom and then the body at the top. Okay, That's one way of drawing it. Or again, as I said, you can draw all the um, tails and tails at the top and tails at the bottom. Okay, but I like it like this. And then also, guys, in the future you can see how that played a part in the market. Okay, so this demand, how that played a part. So again, this here is a turnaround demand. Okay, market comes down, hits your demand, and then continues long. Okay, so in that same scenario, so market is coming down, hits your demand, and then goes long. Okay, more examples. Demand here. Okay, so these are turnaround demands, guys, where market the price increases from. Okay, all right, so now continuation demands is basically market coming up, halting or sidelining for a few candles, and then continuing. Okay, and an area like that would be here. I see right here. Okay, you can box that in. Okay, so you got your market coming up, halting for a little bit, and then shooting out, continuing north. Okay, so these are the two types of demands, and yeah, and then the two types of supplies, guys. This is how we identify them on the charts. Okay, and then we can use this in our trading to predict where the market may turn around from. Okay, so again, as I said, it's a zone, it's not an area. Okay, and if you just draw this area, it doesn't mean you hit the buy button as soon as it hits this area. Okay, you wait for a reaction around it and then go with the flow. Okay, yeah, guys, so hopefully this was informative on how to draw supply and demands and how to spot them. Okay, they're very easy to see on the charts. Okay, and supply and demands, they play a big part. Like for instance, like if you go to like a daily chart, right? So this demand here, okay, came into play again in the future here, where the market was halted and then pushed back a little bit, and it broke through later. So these zones, they go back for years and years, guys. Okay, so you can even jump to the weekly charts. As you can see, in the weekly there was a demand here sometime back in 2019, right? And then it played a part again towards the so this was somewhere in August, okay, 2019, and that played a part again in November, somewhere in November, December, Jan 2019. So these zones, they are like memory points in the market where markets turn around from. So this was a supply zone back in 2018 September, and then it played a part again in 2019 September, a year later. Okay. Let me go to the monthly charts. So there was a turnaround supply right here, okay, where the market went up, turned around from, okay, and then later on it played a part again way much in the future. So this was in 2011 that this supply zone was created, right? And then market reacted to this supply again in 2015. So these zones, they go all the way to the past, guys, and they play a part in the future markets. Okay, and you can see it's doing it again. Okay, it's been this supply that was created is being challenged again. It was challenged here. This reaction also, we can say it happened due to this supply, because if you, as I said, it's a zone, right? Now in this area, I'm gonna draw now, even though I've drawn this to the body at the top and the tail on the top, sorry, the body at the bottom and the tail on the top, you can extend it all the way to here, as I said, right? That's a zone. You can include this tail also. When you do that, okay, you see this area is actually because of this whole zone. Okay, so yeah, it really depends on how you like to draw it. I like to draw it like this, and then I know that, okay, this area, even though it reacted further south instead of touching this my blue zone, but I know it reaction is coming from this same zone. Okay, and then also, guys, there's supplies within supplies. This is a bit more advanced. I can try to cover this sometime later. Okay, so this supply down here was created because of this guy. Okay, and then he also came into play in the future, right? That's a bit more confusing, but yeah. Okay, guys, and that here is a huge supply because from there in 2009, all market fell all the way to 2015, and a big price difference. Okay, so the strength of these supplies also can be measured on how far the market went after turning around from that supply area. Okay, so in our charts, we're just looking for the markets to turn around. That just means there's a surplus of that particular commodity. Okay, so for instance, if you're looking at an oil chart and the oil chart is falling south, that just means there is a surplus of that commodity. Like as I said, in the case of this COVID situation, there's too much oil being produced and there's no place to store the oil, so the price is falling due to the supply, and also due to the lack of demand. People are stuck at home, we're not filling up our cars and driving around, so there's no demand for it, price is falling. Okay, but we see that on our charts. Okay, it doesn't matter what the economic situation is, we can spot that on our charts. As I said, this US oil, this crash happened on April, during the COVID situation. I think if you look at any oil commodity, it's the same. Okay, crude oil, yeah, they're correlating, right? Crude oil and US oil. So if crude oil goes south, US oil also goes down. So there's crude oil. And then, guys, so this actually, the supply was somewhere here. Okay, you see that? That's where the market started falling from, and that supply is coming in from this struggle area, which is a continuation supply, right? And this is a turnaround supply. So you can draw these supplies all over the place. Okay, so these are areas that that we can use to trade in the future. When the market comes to this area and reacts, we can predict that markets may turn around, but it all depends on the reaction that we get in the area. Okay, so as I said, it's a zone. Just because it touches this zone, you do not hit the sell button. Wait for a reaction, guys. Okay, waiting for, like, just by the touch of a price, if you're selling, that's called location trading. It's very, very dangerous, guys. Okay, all right. Sorry, guys, I'm jumping from my trading view and MT5 account. Okay, because it's easier for me to get the crude oil data on my trading view than trying to look for it on. I don't think even MT4 has it. I'm sorry, MT5. My broker has that. Okay. All right. Okay, guys. So hopefully this was educational. So yeah, guys, if you like the video, please do subscribe to my channel. Okay, and do share this video. So I'll see, like, if you guys are interested in these type of videos, I'll try to do more, but it really depends on the number of subscribers and the views, and if nobody's watching, there's no point. But yeah, so please do subscribe and share these videos. Okay, and then I'll try to do when I get some free time, I'll try to do some educational sessions, guys. Okay, all right, guys, thanks for joining in, guys, and be safe. Bye for now.